Hello, fellow peasants. Today I'll be reviewing 1984's The Terminator. Alright guys, so I just watched The Terminator. This came out in 1984, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton. What's it about? Basically, AI started a nuclear holocaust. And so in the year 2029, everything went to shit. And but the humans did put up a fight, right? And AI doesn't like that. So AI sends a robot to the past. It sends it to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor, who was a woman who was going to give birth to a man named John Connor, who in the future tries to fight Skynet and stop the AI revolution, AI takeover. So they're like, well, if we go back and kill her, she can't have him, and then we won't have to worry about him trying to fight us and whatever. We can have 100% takeover, whatever. There's also a guy named Kyle Reese who is sent to protect Sarah Connor from the T-800, who is played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so the rest of the movie is basically Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor running from the T-800, and he's trying to save her and protect her because the T-800's goal is to murder Sarah Connor so that she cannot give birth to John Connor, who will be a revolutionary fighter against Skynet in the future. So, what do I like? What do I not like about Terminator? Well, first of all, I just want to preface it with this. So, I saw Terminator 2 first, a long time ago, back in the 90s, okay? Like a long time ago. And then I had never seen The Terminator until like 2001, 2002. And so I remember popping it in. This is like 20 some years ago, guys, okay? And I didn't care for it. I didn't like it. I was like, man, this isn't as badass as T2. You know what I mean? So I've not watched it since probably 2001, 2002. So let's go 22, 23 years later. I just now watched it again. I'm like, well, let's give it a chance. I really like T2. It's one of the best action films of all time. So let's try this again. And I really liked it this time. Do I like it as much as T2? No, but I think it's close. I think it's really fucking good, guys. So just want to preface that. I just want to let you know that this is a film that I am revisiting for the first time in 20 some years. Okay, I was like 15 or 16 the first time I watched this, and at that time I was like, this fucking sucks. This ain't no T2. But now I'm older and wiser, and now I see. All right. So what do I like? The action, the 80s action, the chase, the way that it's shot, the visual effects, whether that's the opening scenes of the war zone, or it's Arnold Schwarzenegger pulling his fucking eyeball out of his skull in the mirror, or opening his arm up and like reaching in and fixing his arm, yeah, everything from just visually, it looks great. It's great visually. The way that it's shot, the cosmetics of everything, the acting in it is great. Not as good as T2. There are some cheesy lines in here. There are some lines and there's some dialogue. There are some things that I'll get into, but overall the acting is good. It's good. It's great, but it's not as great as T2. So anyway, I also like getting the backstory. Like, I always kind of knew what the fuck was up watching T2. You know what I mean? But watching this, I was like, okay, like T2 makes a lot more sense now. And also, guys, I'm someone who has only seen the first and second film. I've never even seen T3, Dark Fate, Genesis. I'm probably missing like 3 other sequels in there somewhere. I don't know, but I've only seen The Terminator and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So I don't know fuck all about the rest of this franchise, all right? So I'm not a major Terminator guy. Clearly, I just watched the first one again for the first time in over 2 decades. So clearly I'm not a Terminator lover here, you know, like some of you guys maybe are. But the sci-fi storytelling, like I love the cop interrogation scene where they're just kind of like, is this guy a nut job? Is he crazy? You know, when they bring Kyle Reese into the police station and he's breaking down everything, like why he's there, how he's there, why he's trying to protect Sarah Connor, and they're just looking at him like he's a nut job. And I love that fish out of water thing in films. I love when somebody travels to the future or the past and they're just lost and like no one understands them and no one quite gets what they're talking about. They think they're crazy. I love like a fish out of water scenario, and that this movie definitely is in terms of Kyle Reese's situation. But yeah, the acting, the visual effects, the plot, awesome, super original. Arnold Schwarzenegger does a great job in this. There is one scene where he first starts digging into his arm, and he's kind of like making a face like he's in pain. And I was like, "You're not feeling any pain. You're a robot, bro. Like you're not." If I was Cameron back in the day, I'd have been like, "Oh man, I would have been more focused on him not having as much of a facial expression, especially during that scene." Anyway, small nitpick there. What do I not like about The Terminator? I'm kind of divided on... So, for you guys who watch the rest of the franchise, is Kyle Reese John Connor's dad? If so, the only way I can make sense of that is that in the original timeline where John Reese and John Connor, in the original timeline when Kyle Reese and John Connor are hanging out together, right? That John Connor's dad is a different person in the original timeline. And then when Kyle Reese goes back to 1984 and hooks up with Linda Hamilton / Sarah Connor, that he then becomes John Connor's biological father, erasing the other original father from the original timeline. But then I think, well, if you're a completely different dad now, then John Connor wouldn't have been the same John Connor in the original timeline. By Kyle Reese being the new biological father, that would have changed who John Connor was in the original timeline. So maybe John Connor wouldn't have been smart enough or been in the same situation to question Skynet or fight Skynet. You know what I mean? Like, and some people say, I looked this all up on Reddit, okay? And some people just say, turn your brain off. Don't think that hard about it. Kyle Reese is John Connor's biological father. Just shut up and watch it. And I guess that's what I'm going to have to do, because it gets really confusing if you start thinking too much about it. But that was kind of confusing. I don't think that was needed at all, to be honest. I think you could have just left it to where Linda Hamilton maybe hooked up with somebody else after the events of the Terminator 1984, and you assume that John Connor in T2 was some random guy she slept with between T1 and T2. We didn't really need for Kyle Reese to sleep with her or any of that. Like, none of that. And he's like, I came back for you. Like, John, give me a picture of you. And basically he's like, John, give me a picture of you, and I thought you were hot. So not only were you hot, but I needed to come back in time to save you, and you were hot. So this is kind of working out for me. Like, he's like, I came back for you. I love you, or some shit like that. And I was like, we don't really need this. Like, this doesn't need to be, this love thing doesn't need to happen with her and him. Like, T2 could have happened just the same without Kyle Reese ever sleeping with Sarah Connor. So I thought that was, in addition to the story that didn't make any sense, or wasn't, not make sense, but it wasn't needed, and it just created more confusion, I think, for the whole John Connor timeline, you know, in terms of who his daddy is. I think some of the effects in this are a bit dated. 99% of these look fantastic still, but there are a few shots of the T-800 when he's in skeleton form towards the end, walking down the hallway and doing things that look very, very fake, very like old school Godzilla film. You can tell it's a prop, it's a toy or something. But overall, I think the visuals are done really well. But that is a nitpick I have of the effects. And this isn't, and I guess that's it. That's all the positives and negatives I have of the film. I do like the line at the end where the T-800 is like coming after he's got his hands out and he's like choking her, and she pushes the button. She goes, "You're terminated, fucker." That's a classic line right there. That's a classic line. Love that part. Love that part. Cheesy line in the movie, though, was like towards the end where Kyle Reese is falling down. He's all hurt. And she's like, "Get up, soldier. That's a command, soldier." And I'm just like, that's fucking cringe. Like, come on. All right. Okay. Definitely saw some comparisons between T2 and this. Definitely in the third act. T2 borrowed a lot of shit from this film in the third act. Like, I was like, dude, do we really need to... I mean, as much as I love the end of T2, and I think T2 is a better film, it's like, did we need to have the car crash and it catch on fire, similar to how, like, you know, the liquid hydrogen truck or whatever busted and he got frozen, and then they go to a factory, and, you know, and then it's like, did we really have to end it on like a truck accident and then to a factory again in the second film? Like, I don't know. So that kind of lessened T2 a little bit in my eyes, because I'm like, damn, like, Cameron kind of just ripped off the ending of this movie for T2. But anyway, all in all, guys, I liked it. Do I think it's as good as T2? No, but I think it's close. Yeah, that's about it. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think about the Terminator. Have a good one, peasants. Peace out. Bye-bye.